If you want to see success as an entrepreneur, it's no secret that you need grit. You need to have this ability to stick with something, and you need to be willing to put in many hours of hard work. But even that is not enough. Hello, I'm Shane from activegrowth.com, and in my last video I laid out the two pieces that you definitely need, which are strategy and productivity. And if you haven't seen that video yet, I recommend that you take a look. The idea is that if you have some kind of a strategy of how am I going to get from where I am now to where I want to go, and you dedicate at least an hour a day to work with focus on that strategy, that will result in some successful outcome. But there's one caveat here, and this is where we get into kind of a difficult balancing act. Because ultimately, even if you do lay out a strategy, and even if you do 1 or more hours of hard work a day, you could just be banging your head against the wall. You could just be doing something and doing a lot of it and doing it hard that is never going to get you the desired result. There are two problems that lead to this. The first is a problem of knowledge. When you start out, you start making a plan for something you've never done before. That's the very nature of entrepreneurship. Then in the beginning, you don't really have a way to tell a difference between a plan that's going to work and one that's not going to work. Like, you don't have the knowledge or experience to basically tell the difference between a good idea or a bad idea yet. The second problem is that even the nature of the challenge changes over time. I have found this to be one of the most consistently true things about entrepreneurship, is that as I build different businesses and as those businesses grow, the types of problems I face and the types of challenges I have change sometimes very quickly. So the things that initially worked to get a new business from zero to somehow off the ground don't necessarily work to then further grow that business from a small to a medium size, for example. So yes, we do need to be strategic, and we do need to have this persistence. I think that as an entrepreneur, you have to be stubborn, right? You have to be able to be stubborn and stubbornly pursue a goal and stubbornly pursue solutions to problems. But it's like you have to be stubborn about the right thing. You have to be stubborn in the right way. So how do we do this? How do we be stubborn in a smart way? Well, first, I would say that it's about being stubborn in the pursuit of your goals, but not stubborn about the specific methods. So if I have a specific goal, is I want to start this business, I want to get it off the ground, I want to make some income, then I very stubbornly pursue that goal. But the specific steps I take to make that happen, the specific strategies or methods that I apply, I'm very flexible about that. I'm open to learning a new and better approach. I'm open to feedback, for example, from the market, right? When I try different things and I see that, product A, nobody cares about, product B, I get more of a positive reaction. I'm open to what that tells me, that the market is telling me this idea is better than that one, right? I wish I could tell you that's the solution, right? That's what you need to do, that solves the problem, but it's not. This is where the difficult balancing act comes in that I was talking about. And because what I just described, you can do that wrong, and that's a very common kind of beginner's mistake, which is I can try something, I can try a solution, and then like 1 or 2 weeks in decide, no, that's not it, learn about some other idea, learn about some other strategy, learn about some other opportunity, change direction completely, try something else, 1 or 2 weeks in, again, change completely. If you constantly change directions, then you're basically not moving anywhere either, you're just kind of moving around in a circle. So that's what a lot of people do, and you could say, well, isn't that what you just said, right? They're being flexible about their solutions. They want a successful business. They're bouncing from one idea to the next because the ideas don't work out. What gives? So here's how I see the solution to this problem. You do indeed have to be stubborn in the pursuit of a specific goal. And you do have to be flexible in your specific approach and strategy, but try to do that in a narrow band. And here's what I mean, right? A typical problem of someone who bounces between ideas too much is that, 1 week I learn about whatever, Instagram influencer marketing, and I start contacting people and I do Instagram stuff, and then I run out of steam on that, and then I learn about Amazon FBA stuff, and now I'm looking to drop ship some spatulas from a Chinese factory somewhere, which is completely different, right? Business idea 1 has basically nothing in common with business idea 2. I'm making a huge shift. And of course, the overall goal in both cases is I want to make some money. But the shift is so profound that I'm just absolutely starting from scratch. Whereas a different approach is if I decide, okay, I want to sell information in some form, right? Maybe I have some knowledge, I have some skill, and I'm like, I want to make money teaching people X. Then maybe I start thinking, okay, I'm going to grow a YouTube channel, and I do that for a while. And then I learn more, and I learn that maybe that's not the best approach. Maybe instead of trying to build a YouTube audience and making ad money, maybe I should build an online course, or maybe I should do some coaching. So now I'm changing strategies, but it's in a much narrower band, right? I'm still pursuing the same kind of thing. I haven't done like a 180. So I think that is how we can find that balance, right? If you find yourself changing, like making these huge changes and chasing new opportunities all the time, it's like you're not being stubborn enough, right? And you're making changes in much too wide a field. And on the other hand, if you are doing something constantly, right? If you've been writing blog posts every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the last 5 years and you're still not getting any traffic, then that's an indication that you're being too stubborn and too narrow. I think this is one of the reasons why entrepreneurship is difficult, and it's one of the things that makes it truly different from being employed. It is that you have this kind of fuzzy problem to deal with, where there's not necessarily the perfect solution. I wanted to make this video because if I look at the last 10 years or so, and my entrepreneurial journey now is about 10 years old, and I have learned a lot over that time, and I've grown a lot over that time, and most of it was just this constant course correction within a relatively narrow band. My approach is generally this, is that when I have a problem, which is basically always, I try to isolate a problem, right? Of all the things that I don't know yet, and of all the things that I have to learn or solve, I try to isolate one problem, and then I start reading books about it. And what's important here is plural, books, right? I don't read one book and assume that's the solution. I fully expect to read several books and get several perspectives, some of which I might discard right away because I just see they're not a good fit. And I fully expect that, some things out of a book might work for me and some things won't. So I'm reading several books and I'm implementing basically everything I come across to see, does this work? Can I make this fit in my situation, in my life? And then most of that doesn't stick and some of it does stick. And it's this kind of approach to seeing this as problem solving. And it's also having this level of self-awareness. I think this is the other tricky part. Like, you have to be self-aware enough to see, what are my problems? How can I figure out of all the things, all this chaos that's going on, what can I isolate as this is a problem? And often it's a problem with me, right? Often it's not necessarily a thing that I have to fix in the business. It's something about my mindset or my knowledge or my skills that I have to change. And it takes self-awareness to be able to identify that. It also takes self-awareness to notice whether you're stuck in kind of a filter bubble or whether you're stuck in your own perspective. Really, online filter bubbles where you tend to see stuff that already agrees with you, that's one problem. But the deeper problem is confirmation bias, which is a feature of the human brain, right? We tend to seek information that confirms our current worldview. That's one of the ways in which you can get stuck in a band that is too narrow, right? Because you seek out information that reinforces what you already believe, and so you just keep banging your head against the wall. So ultimately, I think this comes down to, on the one hand, a problem-solving approach, but also it comes down to self-awareness. So let's extend the formula from the last video, the simple success formula. You need strategy, you need productivity, and you need self-awareness. In the last video, I provided a simple method for how to set up a strategy and how to be productive. So let's do the same for how to become self-aware. To summarize, the one thing I can recommend you do to build this self-awareness is to journal. So again, writing is my favorite tool here. And what you can do is every day, at the end of the day, write a review of the day. Write a review of how did I do, how did things go, what problems do I have, what solutions have I tried, and so on. And just externalizing this thinking, for me, is the way in which I started building this self-awareness and this ability to problem solve. To summarize from the last video and this one, we have these three aspects and some tools for each one. We have strategy, where our tool is a notepad, and you write down what your goals are and what a possible path to those goals is. You've got productivity, where your tool is the calendar, and what you do is you block at least 1 hour a day to work on the strategy that you laid out. And for more details on these two, watch the previous video. And now the new one is self-awareness. And here our tool is also a notepad. And what you do is, in the evening, you review your day in writing. You look at how you're doing, you think critically about what's working and what isn't, and you look not only outwards but also inwards for where possible problems and solutions might come from. So there you go, that is 3 tools to be more productive, more strategic, and more self-aware, and to be stubborn about the right things.